Okay, is it just me? Or am I the only one that notices all of the horrible dating advice on YouTube? Like, YouTube is oversaturated with terrible dating advice. And I think part of the reason this is because when you go into the dating sector of YouTube, you will notice that a lot of the coaches and relationship gurus are single. They're not married and they're not even in a relationship. But yet, they're such a master at something they haven't even mastered themselves. And a lot of people, they like to argue you when you say this, and then you'll typically hear people say, well, single people can give good advice too, and just because you're married doesn't mean you give good advice. Okay, genius, sure. But I would like to argue that talking point and say, if you're looking for financial advice, would you turn to a broke person to give you that advice? No, you wouldn't. If you're looking for weight loss advice, would you turn to an overweight personal trainer to help you with weight loss advice? No, you wouldn't. So, why is it all of a sudden different when it comes to relationship advice? I apply that same theory with everything in my life. If I wouldn't want to trade places with you, I'm not going to listen to you. Because obviously you haven't mastered the recipe yet in order for you to be teaching me. And I just can't understand why a lot of people just don't get this concept. It's a very simple concept. But yet, you have all of these people that are listening to single dating coaches and single relationship gurus. I mean, if they haven't mastered the art of dating and keeping a relationship, what could they possibly be teaching you? And I think that's where all of the bad dating advice online comes from. It's literally a single person with their single mindset that's usually keeping them single 9 times out of 10. If you hear these people talk for no more than 5 minutes, you can quickly figure out why they're single. For me, it's just common sense. Like, if you don't have a degree in math, I'm not going to let you tutor me in math. Like, whatever you're trying to teach me, you better be a master at that. And if you're single, clearly you are not a master at relationships and marriage. Like, if you notice on YouTube, literally it's overly saturated with these people, single people giving advice. And that's why the advice is terrible. A lot of the dating advice on YouTube just makes men and women incompatible with each other. It's like one big war of who can get over one another the most. Typically, what I've grasped from the advice that they tend to give is it's always like, do less for your partner, pull back these emotions, play it cool, and I feel like that stuff works for silly situationships, quick little hookups, but if you want something meaningful, that's a recipe for freaking disaster. When you play stupid games, you're gonna win stupid prizes. Like I said, you listen to these people talk for 5 minutes and you can quickly see why they're single. Who is putting up with that? Who wants to date somebody like that? I feel like if y'all knew how to spot a good partner, you wouldn't feel like it's necessary to be playing all of these mind games. If you have to play mind games with your partner, you're probably with the wrong person. You're trying to force something that really isn't meant to be, because if it's meant to be, you won't need to play all these games. It'll just be natural, a natural connection. So I'm gonna go back to the talking point where I said, if you let these people talk for 5 minutes, you can quickly figure out why they have been single for a very long time. I am referring to both genders. Both genders do the same exact thing. They give very selfish dating advice. So if it's a man giving dating advice, he's telling other men to be selfish with women but absorb as much as you can out of her. If it's a woman giving dating advice, she's telling other women to be selfish towards men but absorb everything that you can out of them. And can we figure out why these people are single? It really doesn't take a rocket scientist. See, what people don't realize is men and women both have to be kept. And I know a lot of people don't like that word, but I'm starting to really like that word nowadays because it's a really good word to describe this chaos that goes on YouTube. You have men making long lists of what they're not finna do for women and what they're not gonna sign up for women. You have women making long lists of what they're not gonna sign up for men. And what people don't realize is what you won't do, somebody else will. Okay? And that is the reality as to why a lot of these people are chronically single and everybody is overlooking you. People who are good catches, they get taken off the dating market, okay? I said what I said. If you are truly a good woman or a good man, people will literally not let you be single. Like, they will not allow you to be single because it's a drought of that. So yeah, what you won't do, somebody else will and did. That's why you're single, and that's why you've been skipped and overlooked. So we're going to get into the energy for both genders that makes them skippable on the dating market. So I'm actually going to go into specific detail. So starting off with the male side of YouTube, if you go into Red Pill or Manosphere, so they are constantly complaining about the women that they constantly go after. You know how they tell women to choose better? What I noticed about Red Pill men is they don't choose better themselves. So you know how they are always complaining about 304s, and they'll bring these women on their podcast and then use them as the example for all women because that's all they've ever qualified for. A lot of these men that complain about the lowest vibrational type of woman, they don't realize that they are a low vibrational man himself, and you're not a good man. So that's all you qualify for. You don't qualify for any better. You know why? Because when you look at the dating advice that these men typically will say, they typically will use their little experience that they have of no good women that they chose, and they'll advise other men to do things like not get married because marriage is such a scam. Yeah, it's a scam when you don't know how to choose a good woman. Marriage is not a scam when you have, for example, when you have that Proverbs type of woman and she's going above and beyond and she brings a lot to the table, it is absolutely not a scam. But it's a scam because all you're attracted to is 304s and pole dancers. And so that's why these types of men, when you go on their channels, you'll typically hear them give advice like, oh, pull back, play these types of games, play these types of mind games, because that works for the situations that they qualify for, which is like one night stands, situationships, and no more than that. These types of men would never qualify for a serious relationship because they run off those types of women. Do you get it? Like, what good woman that knows that she brings a lot to the table? Why would a good woman want to sit up in a man's face and hear marriage is a scam? No, marriage is a scam for the women that you're attracted to, not for the good type of women. And so these men don't even realize that you actually run off women. If you have to play all of these mind games to attract a person, you are attracting a toxic, unhealthy person in your life. Healthy people are going to recognize that you're playing games and you're toxic, and they're going to run away from you. Hence why they're always online complaining about unhealthy women. I also wanted to bring up, if you go to the male side of YouTube for dating advice, you will quickly figure out that they make themselves incompatible with women. That red pill advice is, I know this is going to sound weird, but just hear me out. It's almost like too logical. Yeah, that is a thing. Like, while logic is a good thing and it's a good trait to have, I think a lot of red pill men take it to the extreme. Too much of anything is a bad thing. And a lot of times in relationships, they only use logic and they don't tend to other, like a woman's needs in other departments. Like, so, bedroom needs, emotional needs, stuff like that. And you'll see what I mean in this example that I'm about to give. But I noticed this a lot with red pill dating advice, and I couldn't really put my finger onto as to why it's off-putting until I really started critically thinking, and I'm like, that's why. When they talk about women, they talk about women like we are created in a freaking chemistry lab, like. And yeah, I can just see why they're just unsuccessful in relationships. So Myron and all the other guys, they do this thing where they're constantly pulling out statistics or data and scientific evidence. So Myron one time had said that he doesn't believe in making his woman climax because scientifically her climax cannot produce children, so it's useless. And I paraphrased it, but that's basically what he said. And see, the problem with the male side of YouTube is in order to keep a relationship, you have to kind of meet somewhere in the middle. And it's too extreme. Everything is all about scientific evidence. Like, bro, these are women that you're dealing with. Who cares if scientifically she can't produce a baby with her climax? Okay, how about make her climax because you, I don't know, love her? I don't know, maybe it makes her emotionally happy. Like, is that good enough, or does everything need scientific research in order for you to do it? And so these men talk like this and they literally repel women. The only types of women that they qualify for is the ones that they have to pay for, if I'm being totally honest. And that's why a lot of these types of men end up getting exposed and doxxed, and you find out that they're actually messing with ex-workers because that's all they qualify for. Men like that, they're skip me men. The men's side of YouTube, it's way too I'm the man and I'm the man, but it's not enough balance, and they don't talk about what women need in the relationship. That's why they're single. They don't know how to keep a woman. Like, why does everything with the male dating side of YouTube, why does everything need to be scientifically backed up in order to do it? Like, sometimes love is not science. Women are not made in a laboratory. We're women. The reason why I brought up Myron saying that he does not want to make a woman climax because it's useless, because scientifically she can't produce any children from it, that is the horrible dating advice that I'm talking about online.
Things.
It's still a duty, though.
It's a duty, but it's not the predominant one.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's
so here's the problem with this conversation, and this is probably a clash that I would have with Myron sometimes, which is that he, with respect, he is a very analytical guy, which I admire, frankly. He's very logical, he's very analytical, which I think in many areas of life is probably extraordinarily helpful. Probably why his business is booming and he's been so successful. The challenge with relationships sometimes, I find, is that if you don't take that analytical mind back just a tiny bit and see what the impact of some of the feelings on these things and what actually happens, I think you miss a point. For example,
a lot of times what you do for your partner is not going to be scientifically backed up, but you do it because it just makes them happy. And what men like this need to understand, now I'm thinking about the men that are always talking about what they're not going to do for women, and they're not going to do this, and they're not going to get married, and they're not going to. Okay, so I hope you guys know, I need every man to understand, no matter where your woman ranks, men are thirsty for women. Okay, men are thirsty for all types of women. I need the men to understand what you won't do, the reality is somebody else will. With that long laundry list that you have of everything that you're not going to do because you're an alpha male and I'm the man, there is a man out there that will literally drink your woman's bathwater, okay? There is a man out there that will suck your woman's farts through a straw. There is a man out there that will let your woman pee on him. If you are in a relationship, there you go. And what you need to do is do something nice for your woman. If you know you have a good woman, go treat her right before the next man will. And I'm gonna get on the ladies in a sec because I feel like this conversation is not one-sided. Okay, it's a very balanced conversation. When you are in a relationship, it's your job to make that person happy. Period, point blank. I don't care what gender you are. You know why? Because it is very rude to take someone off the dating market and make them exclusively date you, and here you are talking about what you're not going to do for them. Meanwhile, they could be dating other people. The truth is the truth. So while Myron is over there talking about he's not going to make his woman climax because scientifically her climax doesn't mean anything because she can't produce children, there are 500 other men that will make her climax. Okay? And so these types of men, they always go into dating putting their worst foot forward and then This is what creates their YouTube channels. This is why they're constantly in the ongoing cycle of complaining about women. Because, sir, look at how you show up on the dating market. You are not a catch. You are a nightmare. Literally, it is a nightmare for some of us women to run into you. But they swear that they're this like quality man due to shallow reasons. If you go on that side of YouTube, they're always talking about looks maxing, which in my opinion, when I see the men that follow that, I'm going to be so honest with you. A lot of them look like rainbow men, if you know what I mean. Like, I don't believe that men should be looks maxing, okay? Like, y'all, you know how they be wearing like the tight shirts and stuff like that. I think his channel is like Fear X Fearless. I don't even know. He does not look straight to me. Okay, so a lot of these men, if you listen to their advice, they're gonna have you all types of screwed up on the dating market, okay? But everything that they say that makes a man a quality man is shallow reasons that only attracts shallow women. The women that they're complaining about is the women that you are going to get taking their advice. There was this one dude, I think his name was Cooley, and he said that he was a high value man because he made over six figures. He was over 6 foot and something. He's black and handsome and something like that.
Women just don't qualify for the top tier men, and that is the truth.
Do you believe you're a top tier man? By what standard?
I'm 6'4", only about 8% of the entire world is 6'4". I make well over 100K a year, and I'm black at that if you add that on. So just if we're speaking about those figures, the things that women are attracted to, I'm not going to toot my own horn, but I'll let you do the math.
Hunter, before we go, what's your math saying?
The conversation and the words that are coming out of the mouth of someone like you, I would never consider top tier. A top tier man is also a man that is extremely desirable by way of his character. A top tier man is a man who displays a certain level of intellect that allows him to consider other people. A top tier man, they lead with love.
When we're talking about wife material, when we're talking about grown, good, quality women that comes into your life and completely elevates your life by her presence, she's not moved by shallow reasons. She wants to know how your character is. And all of the men on YouTube completely get an F when it comes to character. Their character absolutely sucks. And so that's why they're always obsessing over the low quality women, because they run off the good quality women. So that's the problem with red pill. Like I said, everything needs a scientific equation in order for them to do it. No, in a relationship, you will find yourself doing silly things just because it puts a smile on your partner's face. That's how you keep a relationship, okay? But you'll never hear any of these people online tell you some advice like this, because it's single people giving you their game that's keeping them single. And that leads me into my next point. Now we're going to talk about the female side of YouTube, the single women on YouTube giving dating advice. So something that I noticed about single women, and I actually wrote it down so I won't forget, I literally wrote single women are selfish. If you listen to them talk, they're always going to have this long laundry list of what they won't tolerate and all of these standards, which is fine if it is realistic and reasonable. But then when it comes to what the man wants, it's like they completely just are not having it at all. So anything that they can do to make the man's life easier or make him happy, they draw the line at that. So that's something that I noticed, and I put everything is me, I, and what they want, completely neglecting the man's needs, and that's why they're single. A relationship is a reciprocation of two people. You are not dating yourself. So this is something that I'm not sure if single women are aware, but when you talk, you really come off as selfish.
Way too much.
You're so selfish.
I am not selfish.
What the hell are you talking about? You're not selfish. Giant, you laid there and had your tubes out and you didn't even tell me? You don't think that's selfish?
Look, this is my body, okay? You don't have to carry a child. I do. You don't have to miss work. I do.
Diane, when you get married, you give up the eyes for us, okay? You don't make those kind of decisions without talking to me. What the hell am I doing?
Exactly.
I don't even know why I'm having this argument with you. I'm tired of arguing.
And being selfish is a recipe for disaster for long-term healthy relationships, because if you're going to be selfish, then just be by yourself. But when you sign up for a relationship, you are basically signing up to accommodate the other person, to add value to the other person, and obviously they should be reciprocating that energy and adding value back to you. In this clip that I watched where Kevin Samuels was talking to Kendra G, this is the perfect demonstration of what I'm talking about. Kendra G non-stop was a blabbermouth, just going on and on. She takes up all of the airtime. She cuts them off. She is extremely masculine. And she doesn't let people get a word in. You could tell she listens to responds. She does not listen to hear what the person is saying. So I can see already right there that I can see why she's single. But I digress. Back to the original point that I was trying to make. So basically, Kendra G was talking to Kevin Samuels, and the whole entire conversation was about what she needs in a man and what he needs to bring to the table. And I yet to hear the value that she could bring to her partner's life. She didn't mention anything like that. Kevin Samuels was basically giving her a reality check. And Kevin was like, your value isn't really that high on the dating market because you are in your 40s, and a lot of men that you get with may want to have a lot of children. Kendra G then stops him and says, well, I don't want to have a lot of kids. And then Kevin Samuels had said, okay, you may not want to have a lot of kids, but you never considered that maybe the man might want to have multiple children. And this is what I'm talking about with a lot of single dating advice, or just single people, period. Everything is what they want. It's a partnership. So just because you are comfortable and satisfied with not having a lot of children, I just feel like if you're in a relationship, nobody should have a selfish, it's my way or the highway type of attitude. Like, every decision that you make in that relationship or marriage should be a mutual discussion. You guys both should come up with a solution together, not one person kind of dictating solutions. So yeah, I noticed that a lot with single women. So that's what I mean. Like, Kendra G might not want a lot of kids, but that should be something that you should probably discuss with your partner, and not have the attitude of it's my way or the highway.
The sexual marketplace value of a 41-year-old woman is lower than the 31-year-old woman.
Okay.
It's lower than the 21-year-old woman. Because if a man wants to have multiple children, he cannot have them with you carrying them.
Okay. That's true. And I don't want to have multiple children. So
I said if a man wants to have multiple children, I don't care. See, you keep going back to what you want.
You can just tell when they talk, they never consider okay, what about my partner? Will my partner want a lot of kids? They just don't have that thinking process. And I feel like that's what keeps them single. It's the selfishness. It's the, I want to absorb everything out of you and then meet none of your needs. A part of me feels like single women don't even really do this on purpose. I feel like a lot of times, especially when you get around Kendra's age, you become so jaded from your experiences with, choosing bad men after bad men, to the point where a lot of single women, I noticed, they have dehumanized men. They don't see men as human. They don't see a man as, he has his wants too. He has his needs in the relationship too. But yet they're still dating and they still want a man because we are wired for that. We're still wired for love and human connection. But yeah, that's just something that I noticed, is a lot of single women just have no empathy for men, and they do not see their male partners as human. And that's a problem. So I'm gonna play that clip one more time because I really want to prove my point. Do you see how she didn't even take a moment to even consider that in a relationship, It's not like, especially when it comes to having kids, that is 100% a mutual discussion between two people. It's not just what you want. Although, yes, you are the woman, you carry the kid, but that's not how it goes in a relationship. So I'm going to play it again so you can see how I just feel like with single women, it's like some of them just, they don't have any empathy for the man in the relationship. So
What are you saying that I need to accept?
Okay, what a sexual marketplace value of a 41-year-old woman is lower than a 31-year-old woman.
Okay.
Is lower than a 21-year-old woman. Because if a man wants to have multiple children, he cannot have them with you carrying them.
Okay. That's true. And I don't want to have multiple children. So
But I said if a man
Okay.
wants to have multiple children, I don't care. See, you keep going back to what you want.
but moving along, okay, we're going to piggyback off of what I just said. I remember on TikTok, I would swipe through a bunch of videos of women literally pulling out calculations of how much it costs to be a chef, how much it costs to be an ex-worker, how much it costs to be a therapist, how much it costs to be a maid, and saying that they're not going to do it for their man because it costs too much. And this is the selfish dating energy from single people that I'm talking about. And if you follow their advice, you will be right in their shoes, single along with them. Okay? Constantly online complaining about men. Men are trash. No, you're trash. You are trash. You're selfish. You're arrogant. You think that you're God's gift to this earth. Who shows up on the dating scene and you're already putting your worst foot forward? You come off as very jaded. You come off as damaged goods. You're screaming your last dude hurt you, and now you're traumatized. And so that's why they're constantly complaining about trash men, because that's all you qualify for. You're a trash woman. Look at how you talk.
And women always, and girls get on TikTok and complain and cry, oh, this guy goes to me or whatever. No, you're fucking useless more than likely. That's why the guy didn't want to talk to you.
I won't say useless, but a guy... I mean, what is it?
I'll just say it. Like, if they got ghosted, they were probably useless. Like, they probably came over, hung out, smashed, didn't clean the place up, didn't help, didn't do nothing, didn't make them no food,
Myron.
didn't make them a coffee.
Hold on, Adam, I think the biggest problem here is that girls want these guys, right?
Yeah.
And they come to the table saying, oh, just take me as I am. I'm not doing anything with my life. I'm just a pretty girl, right? I'm just here.
Single women online are always talking about everything that they're not going to do for a man. To the people that always want to talk about what they're not going to do for their partner, can you please imagine like what it's like being on the other side of that date and having to date someone like you? Would you want to date somebody that's not going to do anything for you? So, you know, these women hate red pill men, but they don't even realize you literally give the same exact vibe as a red pill man. Most women are walking around thinking that they're such a good catch, when in reality, if you put the mirror to yourself and ask yourself, would you date you? You'll then realize you are actually a nightmare if you were to show up in a man's life. And if you're out talking like this, you are one of the women that I'm talking about. Like, if you're ever wondering why you cannot keep a consistent relationship, men seem to tend to ghost you after the date. If you're continuously running people off, you're probably the nightmare type of woman that I'm talking about. And I already got on the man, okay? I said a lot of those red pill men are nightmares for women to deal with. Are you the version of that? Just ask yourself. Are you selfish? Do you pull out data and show it to your partner and you go, well, I'm not doing this because I'm not going to make you a meal and be kind and, you know, cater to your love language, acts of service, because I don't get paid like a chef. Like, it's that petty energy that single people come with. Put the statistics down, put the data down. And I'm going to say the same thing that I said for the men. Ladies, while you're over there, let me tell you something, okay? And I'm just going to keep it all the way real with you, okay? Because stuff like this actually goes down in real life. And I'm going to paint out a scenario for you. You know how you guys are always complaining about pick-me's? Listen to me. What you won't do, somebody else will. In my opinion, if you're gonna show up in a relationship and purposely withhold from your partner, I don't think that there is anything wrong with what I just said. Because I think that it is completely rude to take a good quality person off the dating market and then starve them and deprive them. So getting back to the pick-me point, right? While you're sitting over there calculating how much it costs to be a chef and telling your man that, oh, I'm not going to make you a meal because I'm not a chef, do you not realize that when he goes to work, there are thirsty, unattractive women that will happily bring your man lunch and fill in the gaps that you are not filling? Oh, y'all not ready for this conversation because it's too real. It's too OG. I'm not sugarcoating it. While you're sitting over there calculating the price of an ex-worker and a therapist, there are side chicks out there that will happily take your spot in a millisecond. And I told the men the same thing. And this is why you constantly get cheated on. This is why you're always dating men who are trash, because you are trash. You play too many games. You withhold good traits that could make your partner happy. Half of you guys do not even qualify for a good man. So if you're always complaining about bad men, take a second to step back and think, maybe you don't qualify for a good man. A good man does not deserve a woman like that. A good man knows what he brings to your life. He knows what he brings to the table. When single women tell you not to do anything for your man, you do know when you lead with that energy, all you're doing is attracting low vibrational, low quality men. If you want a relationship, you have to heal, you have to be healthy, and stop being so traumatized to the point where you are entering a relationship withholding everything. And for the slow people that watch my video, when I gave the examples of cooking and cleaning, it's just stereotypical examples. There are so many other ways that you can make your partner happy, but a lot of times single women will literally, like, the advice that I see is pretty much sit back and do nothing while he does everything. And I think that this comes from the femininity, masculinity conversations that boomed in 2019, and now it just went off in the extreme end. So they would always talk about how women are receivers, men are givers, and I think that nowadays the dating coaches have taken that concept to the complete extreme. No, healthy relationships require a balance, a give and take. So it doesn't always have to be the same thing. It could be, okay, if he buys the groceries, you make the meal. That's give and take. It's a fair, healthy balance. Nowadays, if you're looking for dating advice, you're not really going to hear things like that. Dating advice used to be kind of good around 2019, but now these extremists have taken over the whole divine feminine. I'm going to rest in my feminine. And that literally means do absolutely nothing for your man. Don't show any appreciation for your man. By the way, guys, if I sound sick, it's because I am. In the winter time, just expect my voice to change, okay? So just a heads up. Me in the winter, we do not get along. We are not compatible. I am very small. I don't have that much fat on my body. So yeah, the winter just loves to mess with me, and I'm always sick in the winter. So if you have any tips for me, please help me out. Anyways, back to the topic. Something else that gets on my nerves that I see a lot of single women, like this type of advice that single women tend to give, and I think it's really bad advice. And I'm going to use Ashley Dalton as an example, okay? Because I hear her say things like this a lot. Single women are always encouraging women with vibrant, colorful, youthful personalities to dull it down. Yeah, Ashley is one of them that tells the ladies to basically wear all black, tone it down, dull everything about yourself. I know it's not just me that hears this. That is terrible advice. Like, Ashley Dalton is one of them. It's like, girl, where is your man? Okay, you're telling all these women how to get a man, how to keep a man. Where is your man? And you see how she's giving you the advice that doesn't work for her. So you can see in her videos, she shows no facial expressions. I think it's because it looks like she had a lot of work done on her face. And sometimes people can't move their face properly. But she's so toned down, and it kind of gives it gives elderly vibes, not in a good way. And I see this type of advice a lot where you have an older woman who is single telling the younger woman who, you can tell she just has light in her eyes and she has a positive outlook on life still. The older woman is encouraging her to dull her personality. And I don't know, sometimes I'd be wondering, like, are you trying to sabotage her? Like, because I have a bubbly personality, and I feel like that is one of my advantages that I have over a lot of people is I have a very charismatic personality type. I am not going to be listening to these single women telling me, oh, men like it toned down. They actually don't. You're not giving mysterious. You're actually giving boring. You're giving bland. You're aging yourself. I have been watching women say this to other women for like a very long time, for years. Okay, and it is my pet peeve. Yeah, if you want my advice, if you have like a very outgoing, girly, bubbly personality, girl, that is literally a magnet for men. Like, what are these people talking about online? So that's why sometimes I wonder, like, are you purposely trying to sabotage other women or something? Why would you tell women to like tone down that like girly, feminine, like valley girl type of personality? Like, what is wrong with you? Anyways, actually, that leads me into my next point. Oh my gosh. Sometimes online, I would see single women or just, it doesn't even matter, like unhappily married women tell other women, like, if a man buys you a gift or if he does something nice, just play it cool, act like you're used to this. Like, oh, you took me to this restaurant? Whatever. Like, have that type of attitude. That is the worst advice. Single women are telling women to do this because it makes him want to chase your approval more or something like that. No, it actually doesn't. Think about why you buy someone a gift. You buy them a gift because you love to see their reaction as they open it. That's why most people buy gifts. It's the reaction, okay? Positive and negative reinforcement. If you don't reinforce the person positively when they do something nice, they're not going to do it anymore. You are not motivating them to do it anymore. So like these freaking weird dating coaches online be telling women, oh yeah, don't express gratitude and just play it cool and act like, oh yeah, I'm used to this Chanel bag. I'm used to. That is literally horrible advice. Okay, what you're going to do is actually you're going to encourage the person to stop doing things for you. Most likely. Let's pair the recipe of disaster. So they're saying tone down your personality, don't show any gratitude. Okay, so yeah, you're giving elderly, jaded woman right now, and that person is going to find a very young, vibrant, youthful woman and do all those nice things for her because she's going to appreciate it. Okay, I'm just saying. If anybody is telling you to use negative reinforcement, please educate yourself. That is not going to get the person to chase and do more. That's going to actually encourage them to do less for you. Like if you want to take it there and give manipulation tips, there's one for you. If a guy sees that something is making you happy, he's more likely to do it again. So yes, if somebody is doing something nice for you, there's never enough gratitude that you can show. Men are not that much different than us. And a lot of the things that make a relationship good is just basic human desires. Like everybody wants to feel appreciated. Like that's the thing. The problem with dating advice online is they talk about women as if women are special creatures. Or they talk about men as if men are special creatures. No, a lot of us have a lot in common and we all appreciate the same things. Like everyone appreciates a smile. Everyone appreciates gratitude. Everyone appreciates, when their positive traits get highlighted, men or women. So sometimes I think that's the toxic part with the femininity coaches and stuff like that is they kind of talk about men as if men are not human. And it's like, no, most humans have what they like and what makes them feel good in common. Okay, that actually is what helped me become a better woman. It's empathy. Something else that I noticed about the single women on YouTube is they tend to focus on silly remedial things that really don't matter. So single women on YouTube will focus on things like, don't text them back too fast. Make sure he doesn't take you to Applebee's. Make sure you go, like, stop allowing other things to distract you. You do know, like, these little petty rules that you set up for yourself when you're dating, it means nothing. Sorry if it's loud, I'm outside. But what I noticed about single women is they don't really focus on the man right in front of them. And that's why they keep picking bad men. They focus on everything else around him. So, for example, there was this one relationship guru and she was single. And she literally would tell her audience, don't do anything with a man unless he spent this amount of dollars on you, and literally had like a price range that she was telling her audience. Some of them, as soon as a man looks their way, they are trying to control every little thing about their interaction, and you just come off like a maniac, honestly. Like, just chill and relax and focus on the man in front of you. That's why, you guys can never keep relationships, because you don't know how to choose a man. You're always worried about things that really mean nothing. Like your little rules that you've set up for yourself, it literally means nothing. They're always like bullying women for the types of dates that they prefer to go on with men. Stop listening to these controlling women that have a long laundry list of petty things that you should disqualify a man for. How about this? Disqualify a man because he's financially irresponsible. Disqualify a man because his character is bad. Disqualify a man because his morals are bad. Don't disqualify a man because as soon as you match with him, he didn't ask you out on a date within 3 days of matching. Like, single people are always making these dumb rules for themselves, and they just don't know how to date. Stop listening to single women give you their single dating strategies that are keeping them single. Women need to learn how to show up uniquely on the dating market. So treat you and that man as a unique experience, and that's it. When I was single, a lot of the men who had very nice careers and were providers, they would ask a lot of the women on like coffee dates and stuff like that. Focus on the things that matter. Like, for example, there are some women out there that will not date a man if he doesn't open the car door on the first date. Once again, every woman is different. So some women actually get offended by that because they're like, I have hands, I can do it myself. So men tend to like overthink those things. And it doesn't mean that he's a bad person. I just think a lot of those rules that you set up for yourself, it literally means nothing. Just enjoy your life. Make sure you guys have a lot in common. Make sure you guys are compatible with your values and your morals. Like, focus on the important things. A lot of single women, the whole entire dating content is just worrying about petty stuff. Like, did he buy you a purse? It is nothing like listening to the people that actually have the life that you want and desire. Okay, like if you want to be married, listen to people who are married. Actually, when I was single, that's what I did. Like, I was silent and I was taking notes. Okay, I started observing women who tend to have a lot of successful relationships, and I would just see what they would do. And I would literally make mental notes. And eventually that really helped me, follow in their footsteps and do the same thing. So always find like happy, healthy couples and just observe little things about them. Like, for example, something that I noticed when I observed, she was my friend. I noticed that she was always in these long-term relationships, and I really wanted that. She was very patient. So that was something that I kept in my head. She was very forgiving. And, forgiving, when people hear that, they think like being cheated on and forgiving. No, it's just like, you don't need to throw your partner away over every little thing. Because if you think about it, they're human, just like how you're human. And What single people also don't realize is while you can sit there and make a pros and cons list for your partner, you know they can do the same exact thing about you, right? And so that's what I learned in order to keep long-lasting relationships, is that you have to kind of humble yourself. So sometimes people end up in that cycle where they're constantly tearing their partner down. Your partner could literally do the same exact thing to you. You are not perfect. So the amount of pet peeves that you may have for your partner has the same complaints about you. And, what I said kind of sounds extreme. You shouldn't have a long list, but everybody is going to have something, is what I'm saying. Okay, so now that I'm wrapping the video up and I'm done complaining, if you actually want some good relationship advice, here it is, okay? The 80-20 rule, I apply this rule to my diet, to everything. It's such a great concept. So 80-20 basically means I'll read it. It says, use the 80-20 rule to remind yourself that if 80% of things are good, then you can let go of the other 20%. So I'll give one example of what this means. If overall your partner is doing what they need to do, you don't need to beat them down over the 20%. It's not a deal breaker, but sometimes I think with couples, it's very common, if you don't check yourself, to get into this nitpicking cycle. And you never want to enter that ongoing cycle of just excess criticism, excess focusing on only the negative. If overall your relationship is good, you really have nothing to worry about, because nobody is perfect. That's what people need to understand. Nobody is 100%. Everyone is going to have a little bit of something that you might not like. And it can be something when people hear this, the traumatized people will think I'm talking about cheating. No, I'm not talking about cheating. It could be maybe your partner is kind of absent-minded and kind of bad at remembering, I don't know, to take out the trash. That's petty to me. I don't think you need to throw the whole relationship away for petty things like that. I never want to be the type of woman to just be a nag. I grew up around nags, and I told myself I am not going to be that type of woman. I'm not. Yeah. So yeah. If your partner is giving you their best that they can, which 80% to me is the best that a person can give, because nobody is perfect, don't focus on the little 20% of what they may be lacking. Okay, that's petty, and you are destroying a good thing. And also, while we're on the topic, actually, I do notice that single people tend to do that as well. Here you go, you have this person that's super great in front of you, but because of the little 20%, you're throwing the entire person away. You're throwing the rest of the 80 away. That's not smart. And we see this on the show Pop the Balloon. If you watch my last video that I uploaded, I talked about that a lot. It is very, very, very dumb for a person to date like this. So just don't get too caught up in the petty stuff with people, okay? A lot of women end up messing up with this 80-20 rule, where it's you have a man that's trying his very best to please you, but you go out of your way to only highlight and focus on his negatives. Nip that in the bud. You cannot do that in a relationship. You are literally destroying your relationship. I think there was a scripture that actually talked about that. I really liked it. It says something about a foolish woman tears down her home with her own hands or something. Yeah, that's basically what I'm saying. Don't be a fool, okay? Recognize what you have and appreciate it and focus on that. As much as you go out of your way to focus on the negative, how about go out of your way to focus on your partner's positive? And once again, I'm talking to the people who have healthy relationships. Don't take this advice if you are getting cheated on or you're going through DV. No, that's not 80-20. Okay, so yeah. So I always tell my audience, always take advice from people that you would prefer to trade places with. That's how you're going to get the life that you want. So whatever life you want, go find somebody that has it and observe them and take notes. Avoid people that do not have the results that you want because they can't teach you anything to get to that step. And if you're happily single, more power to you. But my channel, it's more like a channel, like when I do these conversations, it's to help the people that are constantly complaining. So you'll see me do a lot of conversations around men, and it's for the women that just can't really get it together, So I don't need a bunch of, oh, I'm happily single. Okay, cool for you. But there are women out here that are literally struggling on the dating market. And I'm just trying to help. A lot of times you won't hear a video like this on YouTube because people don't gravitate towards it. People gravitate towards single people because single people give self-soothing advice that doesn't provide any results. People want to feel good. In order to finally have healthy relationships in your life, it's going to require a lot of hard, difficult pills to swallow about yourself. You're going to have to humble yourself. You're going to have to look in the mirror. Nobody wants to do that. That's too painful. I know there was this discussion on TikTok where people were saying, why don't happily married women come out and talk and give advice? Why is it always single women? Well, it's because you guys tend to not like what the happily married women will have to say. And I also heard someone say that happily married people do not really have these types of conversations with single people because they just don't get it. Single people don't like to hear this. Like if you look up little articles, you'll see a bunch of single people. They hate when people in relationships give advice. Noticed when people in happy relationships try to help single people, they literally don't want to hear it. They reject what we have to say. They come up with these weird conspiracy theories as to why they're still single and oh no, it's luck. For example, STFU, perfect example. If you know, you know. I like using her as the perfect case study of a single person that's struggling. Okay, so yeah, she would do all these story times complaining about how she doesn't have a man and talking about her struggles. And people were trying to help her and trying to get her to take accountability and self-reflect. And she took her content down. So she cannot handle criticism. And she started kind of just playing the victim and saying, well, you don't know me. And people in relationships are always saying this and that's not true. It's luck. And I'm like, okay, and this is why people in happy relationships don't talk to you guys. So, I mean, I'm talking to you. I'm in a happy relationship. So you have me. I know this video is going to be not the easiest to digest, but it is what it is. The last thing I wanted to say on my mind was, y'all have to stop going to the same gender for dating advice. I'm talking to men and women. Like some women only get their advice about men from other women. Some men only get their advice about women from other men. A man is not a woman and a woman is not a man. So as much as you may think you know the opposite gender and you got it down, you are not the opposite gender. So I think it is very bad when a gender is getting too much advice from the same gender about the other gender. Does that make sense? So a man should not only be asking men about women, because at the end of the day, a man is not a woman. Your friend may know the game when it comes to women, but he's not a woman. So you'll never get, it's not going to hit the same as asking a woman directly. And I noticed that a lot of women also make that mistake where you're getting all your dating tips and advice from other women about men. They are not a man. And that's something that I also had to learn is as much as you think you may know men, you're still not a man. And it's little things where it's like, because men get men just as much as women get women. So that's what I mean. It's better, I think if you want good advice, Ask the opposite gender. Pick the opposite gender's brain. Spend some time with the opposite gender. Get to know the opposite gender. Stop getting all of your conversations from other women if you're a woman. And men, stop getting all of your little tips from other men if you're a man. Have like a balance. Thank you guys for keeping up with this video. I already know this video is not going to be easy to digest because it was just really raw. Like, I was really raw with it, really real, really transparent. But one thing I didn't tell you in this video is a lie, okay? And that's what I'm here for. My name is Blunt Girly, and I'll catch you guys soon.